If a seller says, "We're not ready yet," and then you ghost them for 6 months, don't be surprised when they list with somebody else. That's what today's video is all about: when and how to get your listing agreement signed to protect your time and income. What's up, guys? I'm Elise Palacios, and I help real estate agents and team leaders get from production to legacy. It's my goal with every video to give you at least one actionable step that you can put directly into your business. And today we're going all into how to sign listings effectively. If you haven't already, click the link below, head on over to our REinvest Real Estate School community to get access to real life coaching conversations like this one, templates, scripts, trainings, and so much more. Stop giving value with no guarantee. Let's be honest, agents give a ton of value, which is fantastic, but when do they give it too soon, and where do we draw that line? You're meeting with potential clients, you're sharing comparable properties that have sold recently, pricing strategies, your personal marketing strategy that you've perfected with your brand and expertise. You're recommending painters and contractors and stagers, and you're acting like their listing agent, but you haven't actually been hired yet. Without an official listing agreement, you're just a really nice friend giving away a ton of free advice. That potential client can absolutely take all of those valuable referrals and then go list with somebody else using your exact marketing and pricing strategy. So how do we get ahead of that? It's because clients these days and potential clients feel like they have a lot of options. And if you're not clearly portraying yourself as the best option, they're going to continue shopping until they have an agreement signed. So yes, give value, be generous, and prove your worth, but also make sure you're drawing that boundary and being clear with your intentions. Part 1, when to get the listing agreement signed. So when's the right time to actually bring up this paperwork and have your potential client sign it and lock them in as a listing? Honestly, it depends, but here's the framework that I follow. If it's an early stage conversation, light, helpful advice is fantastic. And you don't necessarily have to have an agreement signed for this. This is the type of information and value that agents typically have to throw out there in order to build trust. If a potential client is asking about pricing, staging, or a timeline to list, now is an appropriate time to bring up solidifying that relationship of agent and client. If they want to start scheduling photography or asking you to review the updates or progress that they're doing, now that is without a doubt a clear sign that you should already have an agreement signed. At that point, if you're making multiple trips back and forth to a property without having any sort of guarantee that you're going to get paid for all of this time and effort you're putting in, then it's a pretty clear and obvious time that, and now here's how I actually bring that up. Great, so the next step is going to be to get that listing agreement signed that I talked about earlier, so I can officially start working for you and we can really nail down that timeline of when you'd like to list and when we should be tackling all of these prep projects through. Now, don't worry if you decide not to sell at any point over the next few months. This agreement does not hold you to anything. This just means that if you did decide to sell as we're planning on within the next 6 months, that I would be the agent that would help you through that process. This is not pushy. It offers clarity to your client and yourself, and it reinforces that you're not a free consultant and that you're a professional. It's also helpful to set those expectations up front and early on. I'm happy to give you my thoughts on pricing and the little things that we could do to help you reach that price point you're hoping for. But before we need to dive into that, let me bring up that listing agreement so we can go through it and I can answer any questions you might have. Now, what happens if you wait too long? You have a fantastic first meeting in the fall, you're planning everything you're going to do, you share your full marketing strategy, and you let them know that you're going to circle back with accurate pricing come springtime when they're ready. And then you wave goodbye and they say, call us in March. Well, holidays, life is busy, you're dealing with your clients that are actively buying and selling during those winter months. Spring rolls around and you see that same property listed with a different agent. How did that happen? Because you didn't stay front of mind. It's one thing to have an effective first meeting, but you now have to invite follow-up and stay in contact through the holidays. Because what happens, especially over the holidays, everybody's all together. They might run into a friend or family member. They might find out that a family member is licensed and the topic comes up and now they feel like they have to work with that family member. Even though you've already invested time and energy, that relative relationship might supersede that. And then you're left waiting around to call them like they asked you to several months ago, but you didn't stay front of mind during those months in between and help through those little projects as they began the preparation process. When you have a listing agreement signed, even if they're not ready, you've professionally formalized the relationship. So if they have any questions, of course they're going to reach out to you and not another agent that they know within their network. And once you have that agreement signed, you now have permission to follow up intentionally, set timelines, provide all of those resources that you have as a professional agent, and you're not left just waiting on somebody else to call you. So yes, get the agreement signed, even if the listing is months or a year away. Lock it in. There's nothing that says you can only sign a listing agreement for 30 or 60 days. I've oftentimes signed them for 6 to 12 months out, depending on the timeline that my client was hoping for. When you're using this script, don't forget to set the tone as well. This isn't a question of, hey, I'd love for us to get this signed, but I'm going to help you anyways. You have to set clear standards of, hey, I'd love to continue to help you, but as of this time, we're going to need to sign that paperwork so that my admin and my brokerage are able to start the file going for you. I oftentimes deflect to my admin and team needing this document in order to clarify the relationship so that we can add on to their file in terms of scheduling photography. Any sort of out-of-pocket expense that you might incur as an agent should not happen unless you have an agreement signed. You're not asking permission, you're setting expectations. And if they hesitate, just reassure them. Say, hey, signing this week does not rush anything on your end. The timeline and the price and marketing strategy that we use to list your home can all be adjusted based on your comfort level, and it can always change before we end up actually on the market. During all this, don't forget to protect your time, money, and relationships. Like I said, it's one thing to be giving that early on advice, sharing a contractor list, but as soon as you start to show up physically, whether you're helping prepare, clean, organize things, and now you have way more hours into this than you might in a regular transaction, you are far too invested to not have an agreement signed. If you're calling in personal favors with your contractor list or setting expectations that you're going to show up and do everything for this client, you're also hurting yourself long-term by setting the expectation that you're going to show up above and beyond what's normally considered your job description. And you're able to set those boundaries for yourself. But if this is how you're acting before you're even officially signed with somebody, as soon as you have that listing agreement signed, it's very possible they're going to expect even more from you. And we're all able to run our businesses as we choose. So if this is a risk that you're willing to take on, that's completely your decision. And we've all been in a really weird scenario where things kind of shift outside of your normal practice. If you spend time, money, or efforts without a signed agreement, you just have to be okay with losing that investment. And if that's a risk you're willing to take, then go for it. But setting clear boundaries and professional standards is what's going to help you avoid burnout and remain a professional throughout the entire transaction. Remember not to overfunction for somebody who hasn't even officially hired you yet. So let's shift the mindset of waiting to get that agreement signed the day before you go on market. Plan ahead, get it signed, clarify that working relationship, and now you can actively move forward with clarity and confidence. So stop waiting for the client to bring it up or be completely comfortable with the idea of it until it's at that very last second where they absolutely have to sign it. Take the lead, deliver value, and show up with confidence in order to protect your time and money. If this was helpful, click the link below, head on over to our REinvest Real Estate School community, and of course, don't forget to subscribe. We post new real estate content weekly.